Ted Corcoran here on behalf of the Greater Fort Walton Beach Chamber of Commerce. In honor of the Chamber's 75th anniversary, we are chatting with some of the most influential people in the history of Fort Walton Beach. This individual here, 1991 champion, state champion, 1996 national champion, Heisman Trophy winner, 7 years in the NFL, Desire Street Ministries, a fabulous wife, Jessica, and 3 kids. I believe he is absolutely one of the most influential people in the history of Fort Walton Beach, the one and only Danny Wuerffel.
Thank you. Wow, that's quite an introduction.
It's true. It's true. We're going back through all the years, and no doubt, do you consider yourself one of the most influential?
Oh, that's for other people to decide. I consider myself incredibly grateful that I ended up moving to Fort Walton. You know, my dad was in the Air Force, so we could have moved anywhere. And he got assigned to Hurlburt. I showed up, walked onto the field at Bruner, at that point, junior high, and just found myself in an incredible community with incredible supportive people, both on and off the field, and certainly is part of my story that made me who I am.
What was your first impressions of Fort Walton?
First was it was hot. Used to being in Colorado with no humidity, so I think the heat and the humidity, and the beach stood out amazing. I mean, you get used to it sometimes when you're here, but the first time you go and you see a white beach, you feel like it's sand and the water's crystal clear. And then I remember walking out onto the junior high football field and seeing what looked like grown men to me. You know, Larry Fleming was back there just pounding people and bigger than anybody I'd ever played with in Colorado in football. So I was a little intimidated, but really grateful.
And you grew at a great time here in Fort Walton, the late 80s, early 90s certainly. What kind of crazy kid stuff did you do that you're able to share? That when you're talking to your buddies, you're saying, hey, remember that off the football field?
Well, one of the silly things that I did, one of my good buddies was Eric Thigpen, one of the Fort Walton Beach heroes. His brother Andy obviously has given back tremendous.
Now the athletic director at Choctaw.
Absolutely, and I'm sure he feels lucky to be there, but they're also lucky to have him, tremendous young man. But Eric was interested in a young woman that lived in Destin. And we, didn't have vehicles, so we had bicycles. So we decided to ride our bicycles from Fort Walton Beach to Destin at midnight one night in the summer.
Nice.
Not realizing, you're just feet away from maybe distracted drivers. So pretty fortunate that turned out okay. Got some good exercise.
Well, it is. And you went to the girl, and it is a good story. Yes. So if you haven't heard, they're going to be putting bike paths on Fort Walton Beach. So the next generation of Wuerffel family who return will have nice bike paths to make that trip late at night.
Wow, safe and
sound, which we're excited about that. So, all right, so let's talk about a little bit about the football now. The 9th grade, I saw an interview that you said you would just be happy you had a goal to have a college scholarship. That turned out pretty well.
Well, I was at Bruner, and we were filling out the sheet for goals, and I was like, yeah, that's a goal. I want to get a college scholarship. I actually, at that point, was probably a better basketball player than football player. So in my mind, I was picturing a basketball scholarship, not necessarily a football scholarship. And just as the world unturned, football ended up being a little bit better.
And I heard, this is a story, Robbie Roberts and Bill Roberts, thanks for sharing this story out there, one of your co-teammates and his dad, the infamous camp that you went to with the new coach. Let's talk about that. It sounds almost like a Remember the Titans episode.
It felt like it. You could have made a movie about that camp, and of all the things we did these days, you couldn't probably do those things. 3 practices a day, the intensity of what we did, the amount of hitting. But one thing it really did, 2 things. One, it made you tough as nails.
Yeah.
And 2, it developed camaraderie that I don't think we would have developed elsewhere. And Coach Jimmy Ray Stevens came to town my junior year, and again talked about being fortunate. Just his creative mind, the way he wanted to run an offense, and just the skill set of the team that we had, it was a perfect fit. So I was very, very fortunate and survived camp.
Yeah, and the bonding mechanism, from what I gathered, I wasn't there certainly, but you're in these non-air-conditioned bungalows of some sort, and you're playing on the field 3 days a week, 3 sessions a day. But at nighttime, you found an air-conditioned building with a piano.
Yeah, we had some meetings at night, had a piano there, so we we may have sung "Lean on Me" a few times, just trying to build some camaraderie. And but yeah, we were tight. I mean, the bathroom was right next to all the beds, and whoever was in there, you were quite intimate with your teammates.
That is a great building episode. And again, folks, if you've seen Remember the Titans, this is certainly a version of that, because as I talked to Bill Roberts, former mayor of Fort Walton and also county commissioner, he said when he talked to the coach, you returned as a team. And that was no doubt evident in 1990 when you were playing the folks from Choctaw.
The 1990 Choctaw game, I don't think turned out the way that we had hoped. They were quite a team, and that was the year they went on and won the state. So that just made us a little more hungrier. We probably did 4 days the next year at camp, so we could get them. But yeah, what a great football town this has been for many years. I mean, that first year there, even before my high school years, I watched Kenny Felder in Niceville just do things you couldn't see on a football field and win. And then Choctaw gets their shot, and then we get our shot. Just a great. It
was definitely a great string, and I'm honored that my good friend Jeff Peters is here. He sent me this photo we're going to insert in here. When was the last time you saw that photo? That is a classic, the Daily News, armed and ready for battle. The quarterback from Choctaw and the quarterback from Fort Walton Beach arm wrestling. We're going to recreate that in a minute. But I'm going to ask my good friend Jeff Peters to slide on in here. Jeff, come over here and let's talk about some of these games here. So my friend Jeff Peters was the quarterback of Choctaw 5A school. Danny Wuerffel at Fort Walton Beach, a 4A school. And obviously...
He looks the same. I had a mullet. This is a little gray. At least you have some, though.
So I want to talk about that because we're going to recreate that. But the other image I want to ask Jeff about, which he sent me, is this photo here. The infamous photo, folks, the Daily News and kickoff 1990 had Danny and Jeff and a gentleman from Niceville. Who's the guy from Niceville again?
Marcel West. Super fast.
Yes, he can run.
So they obviously had one of those photo booths at the mall. Tell us about that photo session first.
Yeah, so we show up, and I think somebody had told us to wear jeans. He didn't. He showed up in shorts, if I remember this right. And they had a pair of jeans in there that I remember. But he was like, I don't know what size you probably were, but the only size they had were like a 28, if you remember this. And he was pulling them up and had a belt, and the coat was over, and we were dying laughing the whole time until we shot that picture. But I do remember that.
It's a great photo. I love the way you're balancing the football on your finger there, which is well done. Kind of a Young Guns, obviously movie that was out there in the early 90s. You're emulating that.
Yeah, we were all going to be juniors that year. And so, the movie Young Guns was really popular, so we were the young quarterbacks, so they did that. And it's hard to balance the ball. I was actually spinning it, is how that was. They just happened to catch it when it didn't fall. But, man, that's a good-looking
I know. Well, I was telling Ted the other day about our dads, just Minnesota connection, and there was a couple clips in there.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Jeff, because that's crazy. I mean, you guys have a connection since 8th grade. You battled against each other on the field. So let's talk about your parents and where they were together. What irony is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably your uncle or something may have gone to school in Lakefield with my dad and them, and then so they got to know Danny's dad, and just kind of so when they moved down here, kind of reconnected, and just one of those things that I guess the stars all lined up.
And the one you played for Bruner and one you played for Pryor, so you guys were against each other back and forth. Thoughts on?
I played defense some back then. And most of my time I was a quarterback trying to fit the ball in. But I get on defense, and then you just sort of, as long as you were near the receiver, you could usually knock the ball away.
Right.
So I had a guy pretty well covered one time. And this dude was just fitting the ball in, like right where I could. I'm like, I guess that's what it's like to play against a good quarterback. Jeff had a great arm and was really a fantastic high school quarterback.
The competition for Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach continues to this day. I have to ask, by stapling a green or a red plastic plate to a tree, does that motivate you for a game like that?
I don't know that it motivates anybody other than maybe the people that have to clean them up. That maybe motivates them a little bit, but yeah, I think just from being here, and Danny and I were just talking earlier. I've got 2 kids that have graduated from Choctaw, and one that's going to Pryor. So kind of seeing it from the father's side is pretty cool too.
Now, both of you went on to college football. Where'd you go, Jeff?
I went to Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Okay, there we go. And you went to the Gators. And I'm just curious, Danny, did the competition that you had between Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach, did it make it easier for the Florida FSU games and the Florida Gator game or Florida Bulldogs games because you've already got used to the kind of competition? Must have been easy for you.
Yeah, I mean, the big rivalry games to be able to play, and then to play in playoff games in high school, I think also kind of up the pressure, up the ante. It feels like a more significant game, and so that definitely, to me, is sort of preparation for going to the next level where you're playing against a rival or a big SEC game. And we had, maybe my mind's not remembering correctly, but I think we had 10 to 15,000 people at one of those games back then, which is a lot for a high school game.
It is.
And there's some adrenaline pumping.
You shared the old field together, Jeff. What was it like? You were the home team almost all the time. You guys traveled there for years and years and years.
Big road trip.
Yeah, I think our junior year, they were the home team. We were on the visitor side, and then next year it was switched. But yeah, I remember walking out of the locker room, and there was 15, 20 deep on the track that had to get to get to the field. And it was amazing. I mean, they still have some decent crowds, but nothing like that. Our senior year, they were class 4A, 5A, just based on the population. But one time during the middle of the year, we were both ranked 1 in the state of Florida. Both. They were 1 in the state in 4A, we were 1 in the state in 5A, which probably will never happen again. I mean, that's something that
it really is.
It's hard to do.
And Jeff, it's got to be exciting for you now. You have not only your own children growing up through the ranks, but you as director of the rec center here at Fort Walton Beach. That's got to be fun. You must be seeing the next generations of people.
It's kind of neat. We had just recently, Richard Grant played at UCF, signed with the Falcons in the second round. He played in our city leagues and grew up and played it. He went to Pryor, went to Choctaw, but he grew up in our little leagues from 9 to, so it's kind of neat to see those kids move on to something like that from our area.
Do you also do the fields? Are you over the?
Yeah, we just built a new complex about 4 or 5 years ago, the Preston Hood complex down the road, and so we've got a huge softball tournament going on right now.
Are you responsible for some of the pickleball courts that have been going on?
Yeah,
I'm loving the pickleball.
Yes. We have 12 of them.
I've been at Jet several times this week and Mooney.
Yes,
good job.
Thank you. Yeah, those turned out to be. When you do get a project built and so many people play it and love it, that it is a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
So you've won a lot of awards in your life. How important do you think the ranking of the street being named after you might be the top one?
It's a really unique honor that kind of never stops.
Okay.
So the other day we're here just a few days ago, and my son has a friend that comes into town, and we're just trying to work our way from the west side of the road to the Commons, and kind of getting over there, and we get on the road, and this person, wait, what? There's a sign named after you. And so they're making a big deal about it. But as you know, it's attached to a toll bridge, which I still have to pay to go over. So
they didn't give that to you when you did it. I didn't. No. We got to work on that one. We also have to work on. We can work on some things. We know some people. Free passes for Danny Wuerffel, please. It's his road. We'll work on it, county commissioners, and we'll talk to the governor about it. But the other thing that's very passionate about you is certainly a Christian life that you've led. And I'm just curious if you have any suggestions for folks who have young children like Jeff does, or who may be watching this, to get them more involved in a local church, and how important it was in your upbringing.
I mean, I think that's a really challenging thing for any parent, because there's certain things you can sort of encourage your kids to do and hope they choose. There's other things you can make them do as long as you're their parent. But when it comes to something like faith, you really hope they catch that for themselves. And I think every kid is a little bit different. We really try to emphasize certain values that are very aligned with faith. We attend church and do different things. I'm really proud of my middle son. He and my daughter volunteered at the VBS at the Destin United Methodist.
Very nice.
Which was really nice to see. But kids, I think human beings in general are pretty self-focused, and whatever makes you happy at the moment tends to get your attention, and then kids even more so. So I think modeling it, but also trying to encourage it. And then a big key, I think, is praying that they meet friends that it's a priority thing, because I think that's going to have a big impact on it. But if either of you have any advice for that, I'd love it.
Well, certainly both of you are very involved and have raised yourselves wonderfully well, representing our community and representing our state and our country, doing a great job now. Desire Street Ministries now up in Atlanta. Let's talk a little bit about that and what the mission is.
Yeah, so we find leaders that live and work and serve in very difficult neighborhoods, under-resourced neighborhoods, typically in bigger cities. And what we found is that there are tremendous, I call them heroes, that are working with kids, doing a different variety of things, trying to make their neighborhoods better. But it's not like there's not the effort or the passion. They've got tremendous vision, tremendous giftedness. They just are under-resourced.
Right.
So Desire Street partners with leaders for 3 to 5 years. We help them develop their leadership. We help them develop their board, help them develop funding streams. We just got back from a retreat in Colorado. So our goal is that these amazing leaders who typically are burning out within a few years, that they'll be able to be thriving and sustainable for 10, 20, 30 years and really impact their neighborhood. And right now, our vision, we're in a year strategy of trying to develop 20 thriving and sustainable ministries by 2025.
That's fantastic. We're so proud of you for that, and so proud, again, representing Fort Walton Beach in such a way. Do you remember where you were on January 2nd, 1997, by chance?
Are you asking Jeff?
I'll ask you first, and Jeff might remember, because I remember where I was.
Yes.
And I had the last row seat for that game, and I ended up on the roof of the Superdome.
Really?
This is a story.
That was where your seat was?
Yeah, that's how you watch it from there?
I may have to tell that story another time. We'll insert some photos to you, but I'll tell you that off camera. But that's where I was. I looked down on you during that game from a catwalk on the Superdome. It's a funny story. And do you think that our presence there had anything to do with your victory?
I could tell.
Could you feel it?
Coach Spurrier said it. We felt that somebody was looking at us down from above. So maybe it was you, or maybe it was the Lord. Or both.
Or a combination of both.
Yes.
You couldn't even tell which team was which from up there.
Well, yeah, I could see number 7 down there kicking butt on the FSU Seminoles in that case. So, Danny, we're so honored to have you here. Jeff, so great. Let me ask each of you to describe Fort Walton Beach. Now that you've had a chance to leave and go around the world, Danny, how would you describe Fort Walton Beach as a great place to grow up?
Well, I definitely, visually, the beaches, the climate, the fun, the water are what most stand out to a lot of people. That's why people vacation here all the time. It's just so beautiful and accessible to parts of the country that other beaches aren't. However, to me, the word that comes to me is community. I'm about to go meet with a handful of guys that have dedicated thousands of hours to the Wuerffel Trophy and to the All Sports Association, trying to inspire a lot of great things in the world. And so this idea of community, I'll remember driving on a bus to the state championship game, and we joked about the red plates or green plates, but we had a little thing, it was called a red dot. And all through those camps we talked about what it meant to have pride, to be a good person, to be a good teammate, to give back to the world. And then, every street sign, along our whole way out of town, there's thousands of these people had gone and put them everywhere. And and then to come back and to see the community continue to grow, and that's really what it meant to me. We're about to have a 30-year anniversary of our our state championship team, and everybody's just fired up to come back. So just the support the community had. I think when you're successful, you start off thinking like you were some unique, special person that just sort of blossomed on your own. But as you get older, you realize it's your family and your community that really built you to be who you are. So I'm forever grateful for the great city and community and people in Fort Walton Beach.
We're grateful for you carrying that torch around the world. And Jeff, you had a chance to be raised here, now raising your family. Great place to do so.
Well, and I would agree with him. I think community, the people here, the businesses, and just growing up here. And I, of course, went to Chattanooga and a few other places, but living here where I grew up and working here and seeing my kids come back and want to get out of college and find jobs here is very rewarding. And it says a lot about a community. When your kids want to come back and live where they grew up to.
Right. Well, we've been honored, folks, to have Danny Wuerffel and Jeff Peters, in my opinion, and opinion of the Chamber of Commerce, in honor of our 75th anniversary. 2 of the most influential people in the history of Fort Walton Beach. Thanks for bringing it to us, gentlemen. It's well done. And that's all for today.